Hello, welcome to Mad Owl Goes Racing, and today we're having a quick look in Raceroom at some of the recently added bits and pieces, and that's a total of 5 cars and 2 circuits. And the 5 cars, we're going to start with the electric Volkswagen ID.R, and I have had a couple of laps in this, but to be blunt, I'm definitely not getting my head around it. I think I was struggling with basically the same sort of problems as I was having with the at least you don't rev the damn thing when you do that, EX in R Factor, which is the issue of my brain can't get around the whining sound and how slow am I actually going around this corner, because especially this I just struggle like hell with. Now I haven't actually managed to do a complete flying lap yet, so this should be a laugh. What do I think of it? Well, it's definitely got novelty value. It's also got some similar traits to the R Factor EX in that it's 4-wheel drive electric, and you can feel as you try to accelerate out of a corner, you can feel it doing things to the front end of the car as it tries to pull you around the corner. But it's, I think, a case of need slightly too many laps to get used to it, really. And through here, what I normally do is just jack down a gear, jack down a second gear, and then barely touch the brakes. This thing hasn't got enough engine. It's also got a slightly lively wheel. Engine braking, don't let go of the wheel. And it does mean that there's certain parts of my driving style just don't work with it, because it ain't slowing down. I know a lot of people say that if you sort of have a 2-stroke motorcycle and got no engine braking, well, I had a 2-stroke racing bike and it did have engine braking, because it actually, both cylinders went up and down together, so it actually had quite a reasonable amount of engine braking for a 2-stroke. But I really cannot get my head around this corner, because you're sort of trying to judge how bloody fast you're going, and I really struggle with it. It's bizarre. I'm sure if I did enough laps, I keep forgetting about the DRS as well. I don't know how much difference it makes to the top speed, but I presume I use DRS as often as I like, and presumably because it's 4-wheel drive it won't instantly spin me, so a bit more DRS, why not? So basically it just takes a lot of concentration for me to drive the damn thing, which is unusual, because normally I'm just like, get in the car, drive it, that's it, that'll do. I forgot to press the DRS. I mean, it has got ABS and traction control, so it shouldn't get away from you, assuming they're working properly. That 1:52ish. So it's reasonably quick, and I've got no idea what the D and the S do in terms of performance. So that was terrible. was interesting. Must have lifted the throttle very slightly there. Does it lift off? It does, it lifts off with the throttle, so... I find it very hard to get my head around, I have to say. I'm sure, given enough time, I will eventually get my head around electric cars and... I mean, I think the only way to do it is actually possibly practice in a normal car with no sound. That might help, but even then it's still changing gear, so how fast are we going? How fast are we going to go? It's not actually that quick in a straight line. I mean, under 160 miles an hour. It's not phenomenally fast, but it has got quite interesting acceleration. If you put the DRS on halfway around a corner, it does try to spin you rather a lot, so yeah. What do I think? Not really sure. That's one of those, if I drove it enough, I'd probably get to the point where it was easy enough to drive. I just think it's a case of the sound of an electric car and me just don't go together at the moment. I'm sure in years to come, when people have never heard an internal combustion engine, they'll be going, what's one of them? But right now, it's definitely, that's my thing. Right, I'm going to pause at this point and go to another circuit, and the reason I'm going to pause is so that hopefully I don't end up with lots of sound not quite lining up and having to do lots of cuts and edits. Back in a mo. Right, well, just going to have a look, see if I can find all that. There's too many cars. Now, what were the new cars? Other than that, there was, I've got to find it, right, GT2, Audi, available in a multitude of different colours. Some are quite interesting. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Some are very interesting. What the hell was the GT? Oh, that's GTE, isn't it? Right. So GT2, GTR3 should be. Is that the new GT3? I think this is the next new car. Is the GT3 Evo? I believe. I'm going to have to double check those, otherwise I'm going to look a right twat if I'm talking about the wrong car, aren't I? And then there should be a GT4 2020. Again, lots of nice colours. Wow, some are very, 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 very bright. And the fourth car is... Where the bloody hell have they put that? Ho hum. I can't see it for fucking looking. Where have they put it? I'm going to pause it because I'm going to have to look through every single bloody thing to find it. I'll be back in a minute. Right, I go and check. It's Group 2. Volkswagen Scirocco. Yeah, again, I stuck in a little car. Always fancied one of these when I were about, but I have to say, I thought the newer versions weren't quite as nice looking. I like the angular look. So what we're going to start with, I think we'll start with a nice bright orange. That'll do. Now, track-wise, what tracks have they added? Well, they've added an American classic, as in was used for Grand Prix back in the 60s, and they've added a British classic that was also used for Grand Prix in the 1980s, 70s, don't know. Right, Watkins Glen, which is, as said, a classic, and 4 layouts. And I think the difference between the Grand Prix inner loop, the inner loop I think is the sort of double chicane, which is tricky little bastard, especially if you get it wrong. And I think what we're going to do is we'll start off with the short circuit with this car, but I will just say what the other thing is. Brands Hatch now has the Grand Prix circuit. Now, I'll go mad. I thought they had Brands Hatch Indies on. Why have they put that as one layout and that as one layout? How bizarre. Anyway, I was expecting to see Brands Hatch and then the Grand Prix Indy under one banner, but obviously they're selling them as 2 separate circuits, which is a bit bizarre. Any road up, we'll try that one out in a while. But first, we're going to go Watkins Glen and the Volkswagen Scirocco. Should I pause it whilst I load it to see if it stops it? Bollocks. I'll just let it go. I'll probably end up with a stuttery, horrible mess of sound out of sync after this, but whatever. I'll sort it out. I'm just thinking this. How's it all, hasn't it? Back in a second, my brain's just had a bit of a thought. Right, well, I was being a muppet. I was thinking I can change the camera and go for a swim around the circuit, but don't think you can do that in there. You can get the camera outside the car and have a swing around it, but my camera control is so shite it's not going to work. Maybe if I spend about half an hour sorting out the gamepad to do it. But what we'll do is we'll have a look round by getting in the car, outside the car. Unfortunately there's no showroom either, so we'll go on the front and we will temporarily hide the HUD so you can have a quick look around. And obviously not got my H pattern connected at the moment either, so what do I think of it so far? Rubbish! No. So far looks very nice. Got the lovely blue everywhere for the arm cover and everything, and these amazingly big catch fences that they seem to go for over in these particular places. That actually looks like you gone a bit over the top sometimes, I think. Though I have to say, if you've got a car steaming down there at a hell of a rate of knots, the last thing you want is for something to jump over the top of the fence, but that's almost too much. You sort of look and you're thinking, well, if I was sitting the other side of that fence in one of the grandstands and I was trying to watch a bloody racing and this fucking great fence is in the way, I'd be a bit pissed off, frankly. put the grandstands in sensible places so they don't actually end up directly in the line of fire, and you won't have a problem. So nicely corrugated curbs. Now I'm not going to do a full drive around on all 4 layouts because you don't really need to. So well, I think they've got a reasonable balance of people viewing on the outside without going over the top or making it so it looks like a club meeting with 2 people sitting there in the middle of winter, which is very depressing. I can't see. Hello. They meant to be able to see anything down there. So, really? So while I got no catch fences here, this does not compute. You're doing 160 miles an hour down here and the wheel falls off. Pung, that's going to go flying over there, but no catch fencing. So presumably if you pay a bit extra, sit in the stand, you get protection. Otherwise, fuck you. Now, this was the without the chicane bit, so what I'll do is one of the other cars will go around the chicane. But it's actually nice to see a layout of this with the straight through bit without the chicane in it, because there's a lot of I'm trying to think of any other game has actually got it without the chicane in it. Am I going mad, or is there meant to be a bit of curbing on the outside there? All in all, very nice. I do have to say, unless I'm very much mistaken, this tarmac is like a bloody billiard table. Interesting to feel like what it's like in a Kichi car and all. Some nice old trees. Yeah, a little bit too the old cross things for trees, and they're a bit too bloody obvious almost. Because they're not billboarded, so they don't turn and face you all the time. So maybe they could have done with hex. Not that you're meant to be looking at the trees as you're driving around at high speed. You're meant to be looking at the road and keep an eye on when you're going. How high is that bloody grandstand? I think I get vertigo sitting up the top there. I don't think I'm going to throw up. Right, well, I have to say, for a slow run round, it looks quite good. Those fences are going to craze my arses with the shadows they're creating, but there you go. That's your pit lane entrance, so if you're slowing down to get in the pit lane, don't be surprised if, as you come around the corner behind somebody who's trying to get in the pit lane, you ram them up the arse. Right. Suppose you've got to get in the car, that's better. Nice smooth curve on the outside there. It's struggling to get up the rev range. Oh. Loads up really nicely around here. Wheels. Oh, definitely front wheel drive. You can feel it going light and doing all sorts of weird things on the brakes as you try and avoid the back end going, I'm going to overtake you. That might have been a bit excessive. Not the ideal place to have to try and change up. Avoid the grass. Shit on me tyres. You feel the front end sort of swimming about as you're trying to get the power down. Just quite reminiscent of the usual front wheel drive shenanigans. Not a great line out of there, but okay, only 2 laps, but I have to say that feels bloody good actually. Tyres stone cold, front and back still, but even with stone cold tyres it still felt like it was doing what I wanted it to, so that's good. Sounds nice, feels nice, good FFB. There's always a bit of a iffiness about is it going to feel okay or not if you've got front wheel drive. Right, we'll try the one with the little inner loop and we'll go for a GT4. Go for a nice colourful one. Circuit is smooth as a baby's bum, which I was expecting to feel a bit bumpier than that, so whether that's just it really is that smooth, I don't know. Who knows? Oh, that is colourful, isn't it? Now, in terms of what the circuit looks like, it's going to be very much the same as the other one, so we're not going to worry about it too much. We just... have I actually got the steering wheel turned off? I can't remember. Oh no, I haven't. So that's one of the ones that's got separate instruments outside the steering wheel. Right, let's just... oh yeah, that's the... very much the Audi engine in the back there. Oops, get off the grass. Looks like we're getting heat in the front left pretty quickly there. Probably didn't need to go down 2 gears there. Have to say, it's feeling good. Sounds nice. Bit of understeer there. Not sure that was a particularly great line around there. Waiting to see if I get a bit of turn in and lift off oversteer, and there wasn't a lot. A bit too wide. This lap will not count. Well, it does for me, so we'll do one more. Pretty good feedback. And the force feedback department. Right. Ooh, and there's the limit. Yeah, don't turn in too hard on the brakes. That's not going to work. So, oh well. I've broken a car. I will have to replay that one. But yeah, that was a case of trying to carry too much speed in, braked, and the back end just went, and sayonara, as they say. Just presume it recorded a replay for that. Oh, of course. They're changing their UI, and obviously this is part of their new UI. They've obviously got a, and I have to say, I prefer this sort of sensible list layout to the slightly bizarre big icons they had before, so that's good. Yeah, GT4 car is the one you're most likely to lose, probably because it lacks overall grip and it lacks downforce. So yeah, let's have a look. Let's get outside the car, and we'll just nip along there somewhere. It's very colourful. As I said, looking through that fence from a stand would absolutely piss me off. It's a very big curb, that exit curb there, so you can keep on it. Too far. You don't want to see me crash, do you? Do you? Okay then. Just for you. Whoop. As you are so nicely, you can see me hit a wall. Yeah, just... Ooh, ooh, luckily there's a Zippo thing in the way so you can't see me making an absolute brat of myself. Alright. Yeah, that was a case of just a bit of lift off oversteer, and that's all it took, just to rotate the car too much. So you've been warned. Right, now what we're going to try next is the GT3, and this is the Evo car. What horrible colour scheme are we going to go for with this one then? Woohoo! That looks fairly, wow! And we'll go with the one without the chicane, the full circuit. And we'll have a look around the second half of the circuit slowly once we get there, and you can have a quick perusal of the rest of it, and then we'll do a couple of laps. Bit wobbly. Ooh, wrong button. Meant to press that one. Again, if we just move ourselves back a bit. Going on usual quality of workmanship when it comes to the wrong way. Interiors. Oh, I've lost my head. And I'm assuming the real thing does in fact have a black and white display, so need the 2-speed seat adjustment. Faster, 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 faster. Right, let's get on the nose. That sound nice. And we will whiz round to this bit's the same as it was on the other bit. Right, better slow down at this point. Now, at this big horseshoe bend, you should have a nice bit of potential runoff up here, which will save you from yourself if you're a bit careless. Although, once you run off the end of that, you're in shit street because you hit the grass, and Raceroom and grass is like instant death, so try and avoid running over the end of it. Again, the tarmac's so bloody smooth. It's like billiard table smooth, which is slightly strange. I can't actually feel much in the way of anything in terms of, oh yeah, there's a little bit there, but not a lot. Again, not a lot of people around this bit. I don't think you can really get around here and view a lot, so you wouldn't expect to see a lot of spectators around here. Few up on the grassy knoll, as long as they're not armed, we'll be fine. A few more up there. it's almost quite bland around this side of the circuit, so you don't expect to see a huge amount. And it does have the armco is actually quite close to the track all the way around. Because it's an old school track, it's actually got sort of armco with not a lot of grass before you hit it. It's more your sort of classic style. Don't know what the runoff is like around here. Looks like they've got a lot more runoff than some versions I've seen. Again, smooth as a baby's bum, this circuit. And then round this second hairpin, which will take us back and join us up with the short circuit. Again, loads of runoff there, should you outbrake yourself. And then we're back to coming up to this corner here. And if I turn the old debris back on, go away mouse pointer, thank you. My imagination, or has this actually got a slightly quieter engine than the GT4 version? I might be imagining it. Whoop. Don't hook the edge of the curb. Whatever you do not hook that curb or run off there. Shit all over the tyres. Felt like it had a bit of lift off oversteer, but we've still got stone cold tyres, so it's very difficult to tell. All in all, it's reasonably neutral. Obviously without doing a lot of laps. That corner's a lot for aiming tighter than I always think it is, so I always think it's a 90-degree corner. It's a lot more than 90 degrees, so it does tend to catch me out. Also, it sounds like it should be revving harder before it hits the red line, so that felt like I got caught by the traction control actually. There's definitely not a lot of, you know, I get a little bit of lumping and bumping, but it's sort of more undulations and there it is again. Right, so basically the same characteristic as the GT4 in the GT3, so a bit of lift off oversteer, so try not to turn in when you're braking or lifting off too much, or tune it out, because obviously I haven't done any. It's not like the traction control is a little bit intrusive on this compared with some of the other cars in Raceroom, so whether they've changed the traction control a little bit, I don't know. Or whether that's my imagination, I'm not sure. Let's see if we can do a flying lap without flying. Off the circuit. Oh, bollocks. Oh, hooray. Oh, shit. Let's try that again, shall we? Well, I haven't damaged the car, so... Yeah, but a little bit of a tendency to get the car to rotate rather a lot. So, whether that's just down to cold tyres still, or whether it's down to my ineptitude, I don't know. We can put it down to my ineptitude, but obviously this is literally the first time I've driven in this particular car at this particular circuit. In fact, the first time I've driven this particular car full stop, so even I occasionally find the odd car where I go, I'm going to have to work at that one a bit. Right, so we obviously need to change the way we're driving a little bit. What do we think? We're driving it through the corners maybe? Try that. Slow in, fast out. I think it's alright as long as we've got the power out. We should be fine. It's a case of getting your head around how the car wants to be driven a bit. The GT4 car you can throw it around a little bit more, whether it's because I'm just trying to go a bit too hard, too fast in this thing, I don't know. Definitely feels like the traction control is more intrusive on this than a lot of the other cars in Raceroom at the moment, so I'm assuming it's on its maximum. That's usually the default, so take a bit of grass on the way through, why not? Yeah, it's one of those, it's going to take a little bit of getting your head around, but it's not a bad car by any stretch of the imagination, so just have a quick look at our lap and give another opportunity for my voice to go out of sync. Excuse me. Where's the NE key? I don't know. Wait a minute. Certainly a colourful car. Of course, I'm about to slow down here, so I want to go a bit further forward. Right, back on it a bit. I'd say the Audi GT3 is not a car I've driven a lot in ACC or anywhere else for that matter. I did one race in ACC in the GT3 and one in the GT4, and they're alright. Again, it's like everything else. You can jump from car to car to car without any problems at all, and occasionally you'll find a car that you just go, hang on a minute, gonna have to think about that. I think this is one of them that needs a little bit of thinking about because it's got a little bit of lift off oversteer. It's not excessive by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely just a little bit of thinking required. So. Sounds nice, looks nice. And so far, I have to say the GT3 and the GT4 have been similar in their attributes, shall we say, of so if you've tried one and you found it's to your taste, then you'll probably find the rest of them are to your taste as well. So let's try the last of the cars, which will be the GT2. That one. Hope that's the right one. If it isn't, I'm going to look like a twat. It was the GT2 and not the... oh, bollocks. Bollocks, wrong button. It was that and not GTR2, wasn't it? Yeah. It's confusing having GT2 and GTR2, but there you go. Got some interesting paint jobs on these, I have to say. So... this one and the Watkins Glen with the boot, with the inner. Yeah, some so far I have to say I'm quite impressed with all these cars. The Scirocco is obviously going to be the slowest of the lot because it's the oldest of the lot, and I think this should be definitely the quickest of the lot because, well, let's face it, it's a GT2 car, and I'm assuming it's very much the same internally as the GT3, just with a bit more grunt. Yeah, looks like it's probably exactly the same. So... now, is it my imagination or has it got a bit more air intake on the top there? Right, let's see if we can kill ourselves coming into a couple of corners here. very much a feeling of the sodding tyres are stone cold on the front. Oh yeah, it's trying to kill me. Yeah, very similar feeling to the GT3. Could have done with a bit of a half gear there, eh? Right. A little bit of temperature in the tyres. I'm assuming being a GT2 car, oh my god, understeer. It's supposed to have a bit more aero on it, but if it is, then the aero's not in the front end by the feel of it. Oh, that felt horrible. Shift protection here, as I wanted another gear to go down, but couldn't get it to work. Definitely a little bit more understeer than the other two. Well, that'll warm up. Whether that'll improve as the tyres warm up, I'm going to try and get my words in the right order for the sentence here. Can't tell if we're getting a bit more heat in the tyres or not really. Oh, that felt horrible. Let's come over the crest. It felt like the front end was going, oh, I'm going to stick you on the wall. Yep, definitely more understeer on this than there is on the other two. So whether they've had to dial in a bit more understeer just to stop it going into mental over rotation, I don't know. Yeah, very much more understeer on that one than there is on the other two. Nowhere near as positive on the front end, but presumably you could dial it out without too many problems. Let's have a look at a replay of that. See what it looked like. Yeah, it's strange that because it's still a little bit of lift off oversteer. I don't think it had as much as the GT3 or 4 did, but feels like it just needs the balance pushed back a little bit, maybe. Give it a bit more positive front end. Certainly not quite as positive as the other two, but such is life. Just find right back there all day. It also felt like it's got shorter gears than the GT3. That might have just been in my imagination. I don't know whether it's meant to have quite a lot more power or not. There's no way of actually seeing what the specs of the cars are, unfortunately. Is it listed on the site? But yeah, going up the hill there, I want to go for the wall. No, you're not going to go for the wall. So yeah, it just felt a little bit spooky. Didn't feel too good through the chicane there, so again, this is as it comes out of the box, first impressions, so everything can be tuned out, assuming you're allowed to tune it in whichever series you are thinking of using it in, or whether you're just going to hot lap in it and have some fun. Sounds nice, looks nice. Drives nicely, apart from needing a little bit of a rebalance to possibly move the aero balance maybe back a little bit. Even if you don't think it's perfect, it's got huge amounts of potential, that's for sure. So, right, last but not least, a look at Brander Hatch. And should we do the GT3? Oh no, we'll stick with this. What the hell? As we've got that car loaded anyway, we'll stick with it. Now, I don't know if it made much in the way of changes between the Indy circuit and the full circuit. Obviously, they've had the Indy circuit in here for ages, so it'll be interesting to see what. Let's just hide that, and then we'll go and have a look on the nose. We won't go too quickly around. Hello, Mr. Photographers. Again, huge fences. All these people should just sign a waiver going, if it gets me killed, it's alright. Nice little bit of curbing. Now, have they changed that at all? So at least I'd have to have driven around the Indy circuit recently, and I haven't recently enough to be able to remember whether or not that's a bigger gravel trap or not. Bit of runoff. Is it me, or has that dropped down a lot more? Weird. There's a rallycross track over there. But I would have to go and have a look in around the Indy circuit to see whether or not they've changed both or just one or the other. Large, expensive grass. That's definitely a lumpy curb. Hello, marshals. Was that Marshall? Was that a photographer? Or was it a marshal? I think it was a photographer, actually. Again, I haven't gone over the top with the people viewing, so why does that look so uphill? That almost looks too uphill. That looks like something, yeah, strange. Right. Bits of different coloured tarmac, which feel exactly the same as the other coloured tarmac. I was expecting that bit to be smooth and that bit lumpy or something, but no, it felt the same, so whatever. Probably being spoiled by Automobilista and their nice bumpy circuits, where they've got sort of patches of tarmac and they're actually raised them up slightly, so you sort of get a dink, 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 dink when you get to them, which is interesting. What's that meant to be on the fencing? Looks like somebody's trying to hang some camo on there or something. Strange. Is that really? Because I'm going slowly, I'm going, is that really what the circuit's like? Just felt like it was a bit uphill there. It's a long time since I walked around it, but I don't remember if that was uphill or not. Why is that flashing? Is that telling me I'm buggering my engine up or something? Stop flashing. Thank you. How distracting. Right. Why do they put these things up for putting TV cameras on and then just leave them blank? It just seems strange to me. Be interesting to see how good, bad or indifferent that particular curb is. No curbing on the outside at all, which is interesting. So you'll have to watch running wide coming out of there because there's nothing to run onto. I'm not sure if it really has got curbing or not. That feels more banked than other tracks potentially. There is a bit of banking in which corner is that? Surtees? Sheen? Whichever one it is. Sheen curve? Whatever. It's definitely got a bit of a bank to it. Yeah, it looks nice enough. Let's get in the car properly. Could do with a bit more glassy look to the glassy bits. Right. Hang on. Get my brain in gear and I want to move myself up there. Have I got the right button? Wrong one. That one. Right. Oh, they've got the dimply bits on the inside of the curb here, so if you catch them you're going to be dead. And I've forgotten to turn the bloody things on so I can see what the tyres are doing already. That's fair. bit more life in the circuit once you're moving a bit quicker. Yep, still very much a case of understeer. And then a bit of oversteer. Oh, don't hit the barrier. Thank you. Now the tyre's covered in shit, so. Well, it's definitely reinforcing what I said about the car. It's definitely a bit understeering. And Brands Hatch is not the place where you want a lot of understeer. Oh, yep. It's understeer, and then if you hang on to it long enough, oversteer. So, interesting. That's not the easiest place to tell how well balanced a car is coming down Paddock Hill, but let's get some heat in the tyres, shall we, and see if that helps. So let's get some heat in the tyres. Let's try and get some heat in the tyres. I wonder if I need to play with the FFB a little bit for this, actually. I can feel quite a lot of movement in the sort of steering rack over bumps and things, which is interesting. So at least I assume it's in the steering rack and not in the tyres. Nastily lumpy. Yes, car definitely likes to be driven in a very specific way, and that way is not coming to me at the moment, I think. So more heat in the tyres would not go amiss. Yes. I'm not sure if it's just my imagination, but the gear feels like it's sort of like halfway between where you'd like it and where it really needs to be. Cut. keep expecting to feel something as I go over a different colour tone there. Yeah, definitely an acquired technique required for that one. Case of you have to drive it through the corners more rather than try and brake and turn. It doesn't like it. Definitely gets a bit at the back end, but yeah, definitely a bit of understeer. But when it's sort of not being driven the way it wants to be, it's understeer, oversteer. So, little bit of thought required there. So, what are we about here, something? Try and find a point where we're not crashing or making a complete twat of ourselves. You don't want to see me do that, do you? Oh, not that one then. Let's move forward a bit. Let's try here. Doesn't like taking a lot of curb on the inside there, that's for sure. Some cars you can just ride the curbs. Not that one, doesn't like it a lot, so. Had to wait to get on the power because it felt like it was going to understeer there. So can't get round, get round, get round. I think once you get some heat in the front tyres, it's not so bad, but first few corners are very nasty. Way too much curb. Of course, dropping off a cliff like that, you do expect a little bit of understeer for obvious reasons, like you are going to be unloaded, but it's not the worst car I felt around here by a long chalk, but you have to be a little bit patient before you try and push it down the hill. Always very conscious in Raceroom of going over the back edge of curbs, because as soon as you touch the grass you are dead. It's, I still think overdone on the amount of shite you pick up on the grass and how badly it affects you once you're back on the tarmac. But I can't see them after the 12 months or more since they did that they're going to change it back, so whether that's put people off, I don't know, but that's up to them, isn't it? Just try and stay on the track. Right, well, that's the new circuit, the new circuit layout, and the 5 new cars. And I have to say the ID.R is one of those you either like electric cars or you don't jobs. Yeah, I can certainly take it or leave it as far as electric cars are concerned. I just can't get my head around the lack of the right sort of sounds at the right sort of times, if you like, when you're changing up through the gears or down through the gears, coming into a corner, coming out of a corner, and getting your brain round. I must be doing about this speed range because I'm in this gear and it sounds like this. So that's something you either get your head around or you don't. The GT4, the GT3, I think you'd need to maybe just get your head around how to drive them so they don't tend to over-rotate going into corners. They're fine coming out, they're just a little bit iffy on the brakes going in. So get your driving style suit. And the GT2, it's a bit over-rotatey sometimes on the brakes and a bit understeery on the power, so needs even more care. I think once you've got the front tyres heated up a bit more, obviously only doing a couple of 3 laps, you don't really get enough heat in the tyres to be able to tell what it's going to do in the long run, but this is just first impressions. The Scirocco, great fun. Exactly as you'd expect a not too powerful front wheel drive car to feel. Yeah, it's got a little bit of torque steer, but not a huge amount. I think that's one of the things Raceroom does quite well is FFB on front wheel drive cars. It's not over the top, and it doesn't feel like the front end's folding as soon as you put too much power in. It's got some progression to it, so you can actually feel like what the front end's doing. So all in, yep, nice addition circuits wise. Watkins Glen is always a pleasant addition. It's a nice circuit, it's got a nice flow to it, especially as you've got the option of not running the bus stops, although in the right car at the right time with the right dialed in setup, the chicane is quite pleasant to drive through. It's a case of you just have to get the line right to effectively straight line the first bit as you brake, and then sort of work your way around the second bit. Brands Hatch, everybody should have Brands Hatch Grand Prix in their bloody game. How you can get away with not having it for so many years, I don't know. I don't know whether that was a licensing problem or something, or whether they just decided they didn't need the longer circuit initially, but strange. It's there now, so in terms of buying them, they're a tad expensive if you buy the whole lot with all the livers and everything, so try them out. As it's Raceroom, you can try out all the stuff before you buy it, so try out the ones you want, see which ones you like, which ones you don't, whether or not you can get your head around driving them or setting them up or do something with them, and find somebody to play with. So that's that lot, and that's 9 o'clock, so probably just, oh blimey, been talking bollocks for an hour and 20 minutes, plus the other couple of things, so that'll do me for now. So enjoy your Christmas, have fun, get out there and do a load of sim racing, but stay safe, keep away from people, stick to virtual people, they're much better, they don't give you things, pass on horrible diseases and things. They also don't tend to take the piss. So, from me, for now, have a good one. Enjoy your Christmas, and I'll catch you soon. Goodbye.